I'm fascinated with your trajectory to liftoff, to kind of mix metaphors a little bit. So, you know, you're basically dropping out of school, you're working. I'd love to know what kind of jobs you had, what was going on in your mind. Did you feel successful? Did you feel happy? Did you feel like a failure? And then how this kind of maybe confusing period then led to your first trip, and then that trip led to this incredible subsequent 21 years. So go a little bit more slowly through that transition period.
Sure. So I remember my first job, I was 12 years old and I was picking the weeds out of bean fields. Talk about a crummy job, ragweed by hand. Of course, I'm allergic to ragweed, so I remember getting all the hives on my arms. But I used to work in farmers' fields for 12, 13, 14 hours a day at 12, 13, 14 years old. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't great work, but we didn't have extra money. If I wanted something, I had to pay for it myself. I mean, we weren't super poor by any means, but we didn't have a disposable income to go out there and buy stuff. I mean, we could pay our mortgage and, you know, put food on the table, and my father worked very hard, but if I wanted other stuff, I had to do it myself. After that, I started working in grocery stores and stocking shelves and going to work at midnight and working till 8:30 in the morning and doing that type of work. That was all when I was a teenager. And I mean, I didn't have anyone to push me or to make sure that it needed to be done. I had to be responsible myself. Now, my first trip, when I started traveling, I was actually on Team Canada for martial arts. So when I was about 16, I went to Ireland, England, and Wales, and I had an opportunity to compete in the Worlds in Killarney and Shannon in West Ireland. So I did that trip, and that's really when like the spark for me hit. So I came back and I worked some silly jobs you do as a teenager and started saving up money. And then I went to Western Europe. I spent 3 months in Western Europe, ran out of money, and then went to North Africa. I took a ferry from somewhere in Spain to Tangiers, and then spent 2 months backpacking around Morocco. It was interesting. I actually took a camel for 3 days across the Sahara Desert to Algeria. And I went to Algeria and then turned around and came back. I was 19. And I mean, this was back in 2002 or something like that. So although the internet existed, it certainly wasn't like it was today. I mean, we didn't have smartphones. We didn't have Google Maps or Google Earth or anything like that. I mean, we had a book and we had, you know, talk to someone and ask them questions and directions. And, you know, that was kind of what I did. From there, I headed back to Canada. And I remember going, oh, I'll go back to my old job and, you know, I'll settle back in and everything will go back to normal. Well, Michael, I think I lasted about 2 weeks. Then I quit and took a one-way flight out to Western Canada. And I spent the next 18 months working in the ski resorts and skiing all winter and mountain biking all summer and just having a really terrible, terrible life, as you can imagine. Lots of partying, lots of being silly. Yeah, that was fun. And then I took 18 months and hitchhiked through Central and South America. So I was in Mexico, Belize. I spent 5 months in Guatemala. I was in El Salvador, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama. I actually went halfway through the Darien Gap. So if anyone who's listening, they don't know the Darien is the only break in the Pan American Highway between North America and South America, between Panama and Colombia. And I remember I had to go, I had to take a low aerial flight. I had to take like 6 little jumps of a flight and get to this little village and then make friends with someone who had a truck and get in the back of their truck and drive for 4 or 5 hours on dirt roads further into the Darien, and then stayed with a family and then found someone who had a canoe. So we strapped a motor to it and we went up the Darien in a canoe for 3 days and then met all these little tribes and villages along the way. So why am I telling you all these crazy stories? Because I guess I'm trying to think if you're a parent and you're watching this and you're worried about their child taking an alternative, alternatives don't have to be bad things. Alternatives don't have to be drugs and alcohol and sex and violence and all this kind of stuff. They can actually be different things and things that someone might consider a little bit crazy, but also really amazing, like really life-changing and proactive and helping people and going out there and spreading the word of peace and liberty. And I try to do that literally every opportunity. I get interviewed 2 times, 3 times a week, and I try to inspire people and help them to make them understand that they can actually go out and do whatever they want in their life, whether that be travel or build a business or live overseas or whatever it might be.